Santiago Pope Garcia is a Delta Force operator working as a private military advisor with the Colombian police to down drug cartels. He and the officers are on a mission to hit a known cartel hideout deep in cartel territory and take up positions on the roof of the building overlooking the hideout. Cops then block the street below, ordering the gangsters to surrender as they are surrounded. Suddenly, an RPG hits a police car, and a cop next to Pope is killed in the following gunfight. The cops get pinned down, so Pope tells them to hold their position while he heads back downstairs, grabs a rifle, and heads into another building next to the hideout. Pope then hits the building with a grenade, bringing the gunfight to a sudden halt. Afterwards, the cops interrogate 3 surviving males. One of them offers up the cash, but the cops tell him the cash is theirs, so the other gives up their boss, Gabriel Martin Lorea, revealing he has gone into hiding in the jungle with his cash as he doesn't trust banks. The cops don't believe him, so they kill all 3 men. The other survivors are being led away when one woman, Giovanna, breaks free. Pope chases after her, but Giovanna manages to escape.
Santiago, ¿dónde está?
Giovanna turns out to be Pope's informant, as later he heads over to her home. She was there to warn her brother, who was helping her gather intel, but the raid happened before the agreed-on time, and her brother was taken in. She wants to leave the country with her brother, and in exchange reveals she knows where Lorea is hiding in the jungle with his cash. 3 months ago, she got a promotion and has been delivering van loads of cash to Lorea. She also tells him the men he works for are on Lorea's payroll, which is why he has had no success finding him. Hearing this, Pope comes up with a plan. He gets back in contact with his old Delta Force operators, William Ironhead Miller, who now works as a motivational speaker, his younger brother and MMA fighter Benny Miller, realtor Tom Redfly Davis, and pilot Francisco Catfish Morales. Miller is in, if Davis is in, but Davis is a bit hesitant to get back into the game. He is heading to Benny's MMA match, so Pope decides to join him. On the way, Pope lies to Davis that his operation to get Lorea is sanctioned, and of the assumed $75 million in his possession, they are authorized to take 25% for themselves. Pope reminds him of the countless times they've escorted tons of cash and never took a penny, and he thinks it's time they got paid for their hard work. They meet with Morales in Benny's locker room before the fight. He reveals that he lost his license recently, and is also hesitant about operating again, but Pope tells him that won't be an issue and to consider the money involved. It's time for the fight, so the guys walk out with Benny. Before the match begins, the guys come together and decide to join Pope on his mission. The team arrives in Colombia and stops a distance off from Lorea's house nestled in the jungle. They continue the rest of the way on foot and take up positions around the compound. Morales spots some kids and is worried that things may become complicated, but Pope explains that according to intel, the kids will leave for church soon accompanied by guards, leaving Lorea alone with just 3 guards. Giovanna soon arrives to deliver cash to the compound, and her mission is to take a video recording of the inside of the house. Miller then spots some hostages get executed by Lorea and his men.
She's prepared to record the inside of the house.
She hopes I can get her little brother out of jail.
Buenas tardes, señor Lorea. Gracias, señor.
2 men on motorbikes also arrive at the compound and come close to the team, but they pass without incident. Later, as they sit around, the guys wonder when they will report to the agency Pope works for, but Pope has other plans.
I'm not sure I want to tell them.
He thinks they could keep the intel and hit the compound themselves. Davis is not comfortable with the change of plans, then suspects that Pope is not telling them the entire truth. They want to know where the money came from to pay their fees, and Pope eventually reveals it was his personal cash. They're not happy Pope lied to them, but Pope explains that Lorea and the cash are there for the taking, and that means taking out another bad guy, and using the cash to stop living the crappy lives they have been living after sacrificing their lives for their country. As the guys head back into town, they finally decide to go through with the mission themselves. Davis had already come up with a plan and lays it out for the guys. To get the job done, they would also need bags for the cash, a van, and a chopper to get them over the ocean, and the team gets pumped as this could change their lives forever.
Redfire's gonna be rich, boys!
Pope meets up with Giovanna and gets the video she took. She asks about her brother, but Pope has one more mission for her. He wants her to get an extra van inside the compound, and seeing that she is hesitant, he promises to get her and her brother out of the country with documents and $2 million in cash. So Giovanna plans to find a way. The guys then meet up in a shipping yard where Pope has a personal container filled with weapons. He shows them the video of Lorea and a large stack of cash, and Miller confirms that the chopper will be there if they have $3 million for the pilot. Davis steps outside and Pope joins him. He notes how his life has been going downhill trying to get his life together and admits that this mission makes him feel alive again. Despite the risk of the job, he needs the cash and has now made up his mind to go all in. Davis then goes over the important points with the team. First, any injuries they sustain they have to walk out with. Second, what they're doing is criminal and they cannot return to their normal lives after the hit. Third, if the family doesn't leave for church, the mission is off. And last, anybody who wants to leave should do so now. But at this point, all the guys have considered all the risks and are ready to go. Mission day, the team is posted outside the compound as the rain pours, and soon see Lorea's family leave for church with 7 guards. Giovanna soon arrives towing a car behind her van, telling the guard she will be leaving the van behind and taking the car back. The guard lets her through, and the team begins advancing on the compound. As Giovanna leaves, the team infiltrates the home, while Benny takes out a lone guard outside. They take out another guard in the kitchen easily, then move to the TV room, but the guard there walks out and Morales shoots him in the foot before tying him up. Thinking the gunshot must have alerted someone, they destroy the surveillance room and go looking for Lorea, but see no sign of him or his money. They regroup, thinking Pope's intel must have been wrong, but he smells fresh paint and realizes that the house is the safe and the money is inside the walls. They quickly jump into action, ripping the walls apart, and soon realize there is way more money than they expected.
Jesus Christ. How much time we got?
They begin to load body bags, and while Benny is overly excited, Pope is watching the clock. They fill all the bags and begin loading them into the back of the van, but after checking more walls, they realize they have way more cash than the van can even hold. Davis won't stop uncovering more cash, insisting they can take a couple more loads, but the guys demand that he stay on track and start loading up. Pope wants one more sweep for Lorea. Then they plan to burn the house down. They push to Lorea's bedroom, but he fires on them from a hidden room before Pope kills him. Turns out Miller took a bullet, and while they treat him, Benny reports that the first shift of guards has returned. Pope suggests they each grab a backpack of cash and leave, but Davis refuses to leave without the cash and prefers to fight instead. Miller is patched up and also wants to fight. The team takes out the first set of gangsters that enter the house with precision.
That's 4.
Another van is on the way, but the team ambushes the men before they can even jump out properly. They then load into the van, and one of the cars the gangsters came in, and leave Lorea's house burning before passing his family on their way out with $250 million. They meet up with Giovanna and her brother at an airfield and start weighing the bags. Miller's contact arrives in his own plane to collect his cash, then radios in for their chopper to land. Turns out the bags of cash weigh 6,000 pounds, which far exceeds what the chopper can lift over the Andes Mountains for them to get to the ocean. Davis wonders if they will leave $200 million behind just like that, so the guys decide to chance their luck. The team, including Giovanna and her brother, then take off in the chopper with most of the cash in a net under it. They drop Giovanna and her brother off in Peru, but Davis questions her about their identities as she could tie them to the robbery. Giovanna insists that she doesn't know any names. Pope then gives her $3 million in visas to Australia, warning her not to remain in South America. As they take off once more, Davis thinks Giovanna is lying and believes they should have ended them, but the guys don't agree with him. After flying for a few hours, they get to the Andes mountain range, and Morales aims for the lowest point of the range, but the chopper begins to struggle with the height and the weight. They have to drop some of their load, which Davis is not happy with, but they eventually toss some of the cash overboard. This helps the chopper ascend, but it's not enough, and one of the gearboxes gets fried. Morales starts to bring the chopper in for a controlled landing toward a nearby farm, but they need to drop the cash if they don't want to crash. The auto-release fails, so they lower Benny to release it manually.
There should be a manual override on the cargo.
Benny can't get back into the chopper and jumps just before it crashes into the farm hard. Everyone manages to survive the crash, but as they load out, they see the villagers gathering around the cache. So Davis sends Benny and Morales to take up positions as the area should be crawling with armed traffickers. Davis and Pope then approach the villagers with their guns lowered. They tell the villagers they are army advisors, but the villagers think the men are DEA agents. The tension escalates, and when one villager pulls a knife, Davis shoots and kills multiple villagers. The others are shocked, but they push the villagers back while looking for mules for the cache. Davis knows he messed up as he finishes off one of the dying villagers. He returns to the village where there is mourning all around for their dead loved ones. He brings cash to Pope, who is meeting with the village leader, and hands over a large sum of cash to compensate them for their mules and their dead relatives. The guys soon get the mules saddled up with the cash, and one of the young men stands in Davis's way until the leader tells him to let them pass. Along the way, Miller asks Davis who shot first at the village, but he claims not to know. Miller then warns that they need to watch themselves, directed at Davis. They take shelter along a cliff face as the rain stops their advance, with another day or two to their escape boat. They talk about how far they've come, from being warriors to now dancing with the devil. Morales feels guilty about the villagers, but Miller thinks they all need to share the blame. When the rain passes, they continue trekking through the thick jungle, crossing rivers and braving the elements. Pope leads them along a narrow smuggler's trail along a cliff face. The trail gives way, and they lose one of the mules and the cache. Pope blames Davis for putting them in this position, but Morales calms them down and gets them to continue pushing on. They end up having to lose the mules as they ascend a steep and rocky mountainside. It's all on them now as they watch the mules leave, but if they can cross this rocky path, it should be a smooth descent to the ocean. They pull the bags up using ropes. Pope apologizes to Davis for what he said, takes responsibility for the entire mission, and they make up. They decide to camp at a spot for the night. Benny wants a fire, but Davis wants them to cold camp. Despite this, Benny starts burning some of the cash, and the others realize they have no other choice as they won't be able to bring it all down the mountain. Eventually, they dump a suitcase of cash and gather around the large fire. The next morning, the guys start moving the cash to head out when they suddenly come under heavy gunfire, and Benny is grazed by a bullet.
Shoot us up on the ridge line!
The gunfire seems to be concentrated on Davis, so the others push on the shooters to get a better view. The shooters turn out to be young men from the village out for revenge for their family. Davis picks up one in his sights and kills him, but is ambushed and shot in the head by another. Pope kills the shooter, but Davis is gone. Miller thinks they need to keep moving, and Benny calls him heartless, but Miller reminds him it was his fire that got Davis killed. The two brothers end up tussling until Pope and Morales part them. Pope explains that they were tracked and Davis was their target, but they now need to push on so his family can be compensated for his work. The guys finally make it down the mountain with the cash, but they are late by 5 days to meet their contact with the boat. They can't make out anything from their distance, so Benny decides to go ahead to confirm the boat and then return to them. After a day, Benny returns with good and bad news. The boat is still there, but the town below is crawling with remnants of Lorea's teen soldiers looking for them. They try to think of alternatives, but Pope wants to push right through them. The others are against killing teens to get through with the cash, but Pope reminds them about Davis and refuses to waste any more time finding another route. Miller talks to Pope, who feels guilty for getting them into this mess, but Miller reminds him they came of their own free will, and they should try to avoid messing up even more than they have. Pope goes back on his original plan, and now thinks they should fill their packs with as much as they can. The rest of the cash they toss into a ravine, expecting it to be buried by the snow and forgotten. With their backpacks filled with cash, they push on to the village with Davis's body. They get to the town early the next morning, and Benny swims out to the boat waiting for them offshore, where the captain is waiting. The others try to sneak around the town when they come upon a car parked nearby. A lone teen gangster jumps out with a rifle. Pope tries to talk him down, but he manages to radio for backup before they can restrain him. They plan to take his van before backup can arrive, but Pope leaves the boy some cash, warning him to leave his gang before they speed off. A van of teens rams into them, but Pope shoots out the tires and spares their lives. More vans begin chasing after them, and Morales urges Pope to shoot, but he tries to avoid killing anyone. They force one of the cars to crash as they get to the beach, but 2 more vans get on their tail. Morales is still urging Pope to shoot to kill, but he shoots out the tires of the chasing cars instead. Benny soon appears, riding on a speedboat alongside their van. They run out of road and drive right into the ocean, and Miller takes out the last chasing vehicle as the others scramble into Benny's boat, and they escape under gunfire but unharmed. A few days later, the guys meet with an investor and learn they each managed to get $1.1 million each. Miller is first to rip his contract for a payment account and sign over his share to Davis's family, and the others one by one do the same. Outside, Pope hands them all passports so they can get home, and Morales and Benny say their goodbyes. Pope plans to travel to Australia and go see Giovanna, and urges Miller to talk well of Davis when he sees his family. As they part ways, Miller hands him a piece of paper containing the coordinates for the ravine. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more recaps just like this. And hey, don't click away just yet. YouTube thinks you'll love one of these 2 videos popping up right here, so check them out next.